Venom is the latest comic film to come out and receive, well, let's just call it what it is, less than stellar reviews. Currently sitting at roughly 30% on Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic, it's safe to say that from a critical perspective, Venom is not a good film. Yet online in comment sections you see this battleground forming, and there are very large groups of people who went to the film and enjoyed it, and subsequently are pushing back against the critical reception of the film. Venom is the newest film that comic fans believe is being blacklisted by biased review sites in an attempt to discredit the film and force the property rights back to Marvel. And this video that you're watching right now is really similar to a video that we made a while back called Justice League: The DC Movie Review Conspiracy. Now, before we get into the meat of this video, let's all just take a quick step back and understand a few things about the way that review score aggregators work. So, Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic are sites that are owned by bigger companies. In the case of Rotten Tomatoes, the site is actually partially owned by Warner Brothers and NBC. Metacritic is owned by CBS Interactive. Whoever owns the site doesn't actually play into how the scores are generated, though, and it's fairly easy to prove this. What they do is they take reviews posted by other people on behalf of larger entities like networks, newspapers, and websites, and they compile and average the review scores and spit out a number. There has literally never, to my knowledge, been a case where somebody has been able to successfully prove that Rotten Tomatoes or Metacritic has improperly represented what reviewers have said about films in order to boost or detract from a score. There are even independent studies out there that kind of prove this. You don't really need them, though, because all the proof you need is the review scores for the majority of DC's films. Whoa, he went there. Sorry. Anyway, if Rotten Tomatoes wasn't trustworthy, all of these sites would have critical reviews higher than audience scores. You know, the way The Last Jedi scores showed up, which is neither here nor there. But despite the fact that I'm well aware that confirmation bias is a thing that exists, if you believe that these sites are misrepresenting scores of films, I need you to understand that you're living in a fantasy world. Now, seeing as the business of this channel is to provide critical reception for comic book media, we do try to do our best to remain unbiased when approaching reviews, but an unbiased review isn't really a thing that exists. As much as people might claim that it does, everyone has certain biases that they carry into the process of reviewing something or looking at it from a critique standpoint. However, when I see a trend of review scores, I typically tend to actually read the review and understand if that review has any real merit. That being said, the next part is really important. In fact, from here on out, if you've been watching this video and you thought that your opinions on movies are often the reverse of what critics say, please pay attention. If you went and saw Venom and enjoyed the film, that is fine. I'm glad that you went and saw something and you felt like you got what you paid for, but you should also understand that there are many people out there who didn't. I think this is a very real problem in the online community with the internalization of a review score, especially with internalizing these review scores without actually understanding the context of how the score was generated. See, a score is just a number. That's why when Key Issues reviews things, we typically don't tend to say, okay, Venom was a 2 out of 10, because what the hell does that even mean? You have to put your review in a context that requires someone to digest it in order for them to understand your point. It's also fairly juvenile to start attacking people whose reviews you didn't like. And you see these countless comments online. They're comments like, well, this reviewer's an idiot and blah, blah, blah. I love this movie, therefore I'm right. I'm so humble and smart. And if you're the type of person to just blindly agree with the person who leaves a comment like that, you have to understand that you don't really know that person, and they might actually be a complete psychopath in real life who makes terrible decisions, and we don't really know them at all. And that's the point. You need context. What qualifications does someone have to review something critically? How unbiased or fair are they when they review something? What aspects of the film are they even looking at to develop a critical understanding of the film as a whole? Starting off a rebuttal to a review score with ad hominem attacks, or basically the act of attacking somebody personally when you can't form a solid rational argument, doesn't really help make your case for a film being good or bad. It just kind of makes you a dick. What I think is happening here is that when a review score aggregator publishes the average scores for a film, people latch onto that score and they say to themselves, this is a reflection of me and my tastes, and I know I have good tastes. This person is wrong. I must avenge my honor by whatever means necessary. And look, we all have films we're ashamed of. I mean, I own Never Back Down on DVD, and I'm not proud of it, but I own it. The difference is I'm not online in comment sections fighting people over whether or not Never Back Down is a good movie. Never Back Down is not a good movie. It's just something that I saw when I was drunk once and I was like, damn, Amber Heard looks good. I think I'm going to buy this movie. It's not. It's not a good film. Nobody should watch it. I went into Venom trying to be as unbiased and objective as possible. Even that being said, Venom is not a good film. As we've said dozens of times in our videos, we get no pleasure from having to report that a comic film isn't good. What kind of masochist behavior is that? I mean, just think of the same behavior in terms of actual comics. Do you pick up every Spider-Man comic and go, this is a fantastic comic because it has Spider-Man in it? No, that's crazy. Sure, Spider-Man has some really great comics, but a lot of them are shit. Why should this all-or-nothing approach fly with films? Are you afraid that if you admit Venom wasn't a very good film, you'll never get another Venom film? Because Spider-Man 3 already proved that just because a character's butchered on film doesn't mean that he can't come back and get butchered again. Venom is this type of film. It suffers from some very real problems. Its pacing is a nightmare, its actors have literally no on-screen chemistry with each other, the plot is kind of nonsensical and has some holes in it that are large enough that you could sail a cruise ship through. It even has some really corny dialogue that seems out of place. Also, they use drones as missiles in one scene, and that infuriated me because drones is what you chose to use? What drone company paid you to put their product in this film? Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Does this mean the entire film is garbage? No. There were some fun parts. Venom and Eddie's relationship was fun, there was some humor that landed well, and the fight scenes and CGI brought the characters to life well enough. It even establishes its own little film universe pretty decently, but those positives don't mean that the film is a critical success. Now, we will have a full review of this film coming out shortly, so be aware of that as well. Ultimately, whether or not you like the film, or you hated it, you're probably not going to change your review score of a film by screaming in all caps into the endless abyss of the internet. The point of this video is to explain to those very angry people out there that something can be critically bad, but still have value to you that you enjoy. Don't waste your life arguing with people in comment sections over your own personal preferences. Hell, a lot of people just enjoy trolling, I know I do. I hope you understand where I'm coming from, and if you do, leave me a comment down in the comment section, and try to remember that my thoughts on Venom, or Garrick's thoughts on Venom, or anybody else's thoughts on Venom are not as important as your own. If you enjoy something, go out, love that thing, and support it. Don't worry about the rest of the world. This has been Nick with Key Issues, and you know the motto, comics over everything.